I'm about to take you to another historic home slash mansion here in St. Louis. Stay tuned. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Historically Marked. I am outside the DeMenil Mansion in St. Louis, which is just a short walk from the Lemp Mansion up the street. But this is a historic house, and some may say it's not even a mansion, it's probably an old house, but nonetheless, it's been a big deal for many decades now, because a lot of St. Louis preservation groups wanted to restore it, and this was almost demolished because of Interstate 55, which is just not too far from where I'm standing. So I'm going to go ahead and show you around the place. I'm not going to go in, but kind of give you a little fresh look at it. So here we go. And while you're here, I highly recommend watching your step because of the bricks and all. Here is the marker for the DeMenil Mansion. Now, at the local level, it is known as the Chatillon-DeMenil Mansion, and because of COVID-19, it is closed unless it was by appointment only. I thought it was pronounced Chatillon, but of course, you gotta think it's French, you know what I mean? But they do tours, or they did before the pandemic. I kind of missed out on the opportunity to do it. But one thing that is worth noting is it supposedly has the largest collection of 1904 World's Fair St. Louis memorabilia. That I would love to see. I don't think they let anybody stay here. These are the new hard gates, as detailed on this plaque right here. And that right there is the Carriage house. Now that's where a lot of special events happen, like wedding receptions. People do, by the way, get married here. I don't know exactly where, but somewhere on these grounds. And on the side of the Carriage house is another plaque, but more talks about the time period when, you know, this place was thriving during the gay 90s, meaning the 1890s. And of course, back then there was no TV, no radio. Back then, you know, you had music, but you had to play it on the, what do you call it, the piano. Piano rolls, that's what it is, ragtime. And then you also had theater, and then of course you had literature and books. So this is pretty much gives a little perspective on that. And this was done by Nene Harris, which has done a lot of markers here along Cherokee-Lemp Row. And you gotta remember, people traveled by horse and buggy back then. No cars, unless of course you had money, but I think cars weren't even popularized until shortly after. And no, I'm not really trespassing, but you know, I'm just kind of giving you a little behind the fence look, as this place is highly securitized. And then right there is a gazebo. Now you gotta remember, back then you could actually see the river from here before all those buildings came about. And that loud music you probably hear in the background is the cars and trucks on Interstate 55. That over there is the Lemp Mansion, which, as many of you know, I did a previous episode on. I imagine people get married in that yard behind the gazebo. As it says on the marker, this was originally built by Henry Chatillon in 1848. This was originally a 4-room house, but then after it was sold to DeMenil, it was expanded. So who was Henry Chatillon? Well, it says on the marker, he was catapulted to fame because he was a wilderness guide to Francis Parkman, who authored the Oregon Trail in 1846. And I imagine with the money that he made, he built this. As you can see, it's well kept. There's a garden. Really nice. So I'm kind of curious what this door leads to. I'm sure it leads to the yard or something, but there's no handle on it, and yeah, I'm not really going to try and open it, but it's got door hinges. This is the back of the mansion. Now this road takes you to southbound Interstate 55. Here's a little close-up view of it. Now, of course, I'm not going to go trespass and go behind the fence and all that other stuff. So here's a little back view of it, as I'm sure it was kind of the way it was intended, but that is where you enter through those doors if you want to do a tour. They do charge a little admission, cash only. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Historically Marked. I am Jason, just outside the Chatillon-DeMenil Mansion in Cherokee-Lemp neighborhood, St. Louis, signing off.